The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Monday night. Me and Mark are back. What a wonderful day it is to be a Newcastle United fan. Not so much if you're a Sheffield United fan. We're asking the same question we ask every Monday night. What's going on? What's going on with you, Mark? My mate. How are you, mate? Are you having a good evening, mate?
Jeez, what a day yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, that was unbelievable. I think I've spent the day trying to wrap my head around everything that went on yesterday afternoon. It was just bonkers. Absolutely. I mean, from a Newcastle fan perspective, I don't even understand what you're feeling. Do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable just to watch your team go out and just utterly dominate like that. Phenomenal.
Absolutely class. Like I said, I wouldn't want to be a Sheffield United fan waking up this morning, maybe just forgetting for a split second that you were absolutely battered so bad. It was almost like the dog and duck where the back four didn't get until 3 a.m, which many Sunday league games that we played.
I played some of those games, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You were one of the centre halves. But mind you, you put a better shift in those fucking players. But we're not a Sheffield United podcast. Thankfully, God bless them poor bastards. No, we are going to enjoy ourselves, mate. We are going to enjoy ourselves. Just before we get stuck in, little reminder, everybody, if you haven't checked us out before, click subscribe. We'd love you to come and join us. We're only 10 subscribers away from 5,300. So if you are new here, smash that button and hang around a little bit longer. I promise you won't regret it. You've got the live show you're about to watch every Monday, previews, reviews, transfer stories, and the odd rant from me when things are pissing me off. Doesn't even have to be about Newcastle United. If you're an ex-Man United player who's just a bit of a bellend, then you're probably going to be in my line of sight. So it's worth checking it out, guys. Smash that button. If you fancy being a member too, there is an option down there. A few of you have done that. It's less than a pint, which I'm sure the poor Sheffield United fans drank many of, and the Newcastle fans drank many of as well yesterday. Maybe even 8 pints. That's right, because that was the scoreline. 8 different fucking scores. Let's get stuck right into this, Mark. Crazy 8, as we've said. Weirdly enough, after the post-match review, I forgot all about this. The last time we battered somebody 8-0, it was fucking Sheffield Wednesday. so Sheffield was 8 Newcastle, mate. Yeah, Shearer got 5. On that day, Bobby Robson's first game, mate. So, but I mean, what an unbelievable game, as you say, mate. Just batshit crazy. I mean, I think I said in the post-match, it was like a FIFA game. I was waiting for Paul Heckenbottom to disconnect his control panel and fuck off in the huff. It was that bad, mate, wasn't it?
It was. I mean,
good
it was weird because for the first 5, 6, 7 minutes, Sheffield United actually looked fairly decent. They were causing a couple of problems there. The lad that they've got on loan from Man City looked good. I think you texted and said there's little shades of Grealish about him in the way that he sort of plays and the way that he moves with the ball. And then all hell broke loose, and they just fell apart spectacularly. And I don't think I've ever seen, and even the likes of Southampton that conceded 9 a couple of times, and Bournemouth have conceded. I don't think I've ever seen a team defend quite so badly. Sheffield, it was so. I was watching that as Paul Heckenbottom, just thinking, what are we doing? Because there was so much space for everybody, and it was unbelievable. And Newcastle took just full advantage and filled their boots massively. They were incredible.
Let's not play into the mainstream lazy media and talk about how shit Sheffield United were. We're going to talk about how mint Newcastle United were. This is how good we were. Even Les is staying tonight. Good to see you in the comments, Les. You're not going for a little kip. So that's how excited Les is with everything. Absolutely. And as George says, Bruno's fucking staying as well. More on Bruno in a second. But you're right, Mark. I think the catalyst really for this game changing was this lad right here. He looks like Malfoy from Harry Potter, and he's fucking magic. I tell you something, because he come on, my God, he changed the game. I said to you before, I don't think I've ever seen a player as direct as this kid in a black and white shirt since Keith Gillespie in his prime in the Entertainers. He just destroys fullbacks. He's relentless. He runs at them. He's inside. He's outside. I mean, he just completely ripped them to pieces, Mark, when he come on. I mean, poor Harvey Barnes, bless him, isn't the same type of player as Gordon. He didn't get a chance to really get into the game. He's got his bad toe injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. But when you see your replacement come on and do that, Mark, you must be thinking, fuck, I hope this toe is not as bad as it's a maybe first thought.
Yeah, I mean, talk about filling your boots. He took advantage. I mean, it's sad for Barnes. I genuinely think, that game, I think Gordon comes on and changes it a little bit. But, if Sheffield United had played the way that they had, Barnes could have had a field day as well. I mean, we know how good he can be scoring goals and creating stuff. So he could have had a hatful. But Gordon was sensational. I mean, you just look, I mean, it shows you what the state of the game yesterday. Look at his heat map, and his heat map's pretty much camped on the edge of Sheffield United's box. He's very, very little that's further back. It's all forward. It's all him driving forward. It's getting on the ball and running at place. And he scared the crap out of them. How there wasn't a penalty given, I'm still can't get my head around that one.
That was crazy.
There's a stonewall with penalty, as you'll see. But I mean, it's not like it mattered really, did it? It was just what he was sensational, and I think has started to, or is proving an awful lot of people wrong. And we saw a lot of this last season, didn't we? Where £40 million wasted. What are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. We've seen some of the comments. Granted, some of them were from Macrams, but there were some last season that were saying the same thing. Why have Newcastle bought him? What are they doing? And he's taken that little time. He's taken a pre-season, but he's just looking. He's so in form. And he just wants the ball constantly. He's eager to get it, eager to get forward, and eager to create stuff.
So aggressive as well. I mean, 40 million quid looks like a snip for this kid. It really does. And with his age, he's only going to get better and better. Great comment there, Mighty Win. 3 Geordies in our team as well. The two are getting stronger, as you say. 50 years of hurt won't have to wait much longer. I mean, that's a massive thing as well. We mentioned it on post-match, Mark, as well. But look at the goal scorers. You had a kid from North Shields opens a score, and a diving header from the man from Blythe, who subsequently shoved my pre-match comments down my throat by going, "Oh, fucking hell, Burns playing. No, why is Lewis Hall not playing?" And then Dan Burn then decides to turn into bloody Brian Maldini against Sheffield United, of course, but still a brilliant performance. It's great to see that. I mean, and obviously the Geordie Maradona, Mark. I mean, you're a big fan of the kid. I'm a big fan of the kid. And he just looks better every game as well, doesn't he, man? He just looks like he's growing into that role as well. And flying into tackles, that bit where he hounded down the player when he lost the ball and he buried him with a tackle. It's great to see that from Anderson.
Yeah, I think there was the moment towards the end of the first half where he loses the ball and he's in a good position. He thought, just get him sort of into the box, loses the ball, but doesn't stop. And he chases 40 yards to win the ball. And I think he puts it out for a throw-in. And it just shows the attitude of the kid. And I thought he was exceptional yesterday. I mean, what was it? 94% pass completion he had yesterday. He was involved in everything. He found those spaces ahead of the midfield and behind the sort of front line. And he was looking for it. He was getting involved and proved again what a good player that he is. And it's one of those where missing players, and obviously we've talked about missing Joe Linton and Willock, but he's starting to shine now, Elliot Anderson, and rightly we've wanted this for a while. Haven't watched him in a couple of pre-seasons now when he's performed well, and he's starting to show it on the Premier League stage too.
Definitely. I mean, he hasn't just got the quality, he's got the physicality as well, which I think is key. I think that was the one thing that held Matty Longstaff back, I think, a little bit, was the lack of that physicality. That he had the technique, I think, Matty, in terms of his goal. You saw he took it well against Man United. He was good on the ball, good passing, but he got pushed off the ball too much. Whereas Elliot Anderson went to Bristol Rovers was the best thing he ever did. He come back a man, didn't he? He was built like a brick shithouse, and he was getting, flying at tackles and stuff like that as well. And, I think we're going to have a really, really good footballer on our hands here. And as you rightly say, you throw in that mix of Sean, of Joe Willock when he's back, of Joe Linton, Louis Miney's coming through, Bruno, Elliot Anderson. That's a hell of a midfield depth that we've got there. And if we're going to play across multiple competitions, then we need that quality. Just a comment there from Stu Mag. He turned off our favourite station, Mark, earlier on. He talked shite off. I don't know why I ever listened to it. The worried establishment know the juggernaut is coming. They're scared shitless, and they know what we are and what we will become. Absolutely, Stu, well said, pal. I mean, they're always going to throw shade on us. I think we said this. We get a point in the San Siro. It's a fantastic point. If that had been probably any other club, they might have waxed lyrically about it. But for us, it was, well, you didn't shoot enough. You didn't show your attacking prowess, all that kind of stuff. If we beat PSG 1-0 at St James's, they'll probably complain about Dan Burn hanging on somebody's shoulder, or two rough houses, or Pope hang on to the ball too long. But at the end of the day, Mark, how many times we've said this, is you got to use what you got to get the result. But if you look at that at the weekend, if Liverpool had done that, or Arsenal had done that, or City had done that, I mean, they would have been writing fucking, soliloquies about it and sonnets about Erling Haaland and stuff like that, wouldn't they, really? But because it's Newcastle, the first instinct is to go, oh God, Sheffield United was shit. I mean, Jamie Carragher, just a little talk about Jamie Carragher, mate. What a fucking disgrace he was on commentary, by the way. This is the same Jamie Carragher who, rightly so, fans pulled this clip up with him smiling like a fucking kid who got a free pick and mix when his team were battering Man United 7-0. And he actually had the audacity to turn around and say, we don't like to see those results in football. Fuck right off, Jamie Carragher, you two-faced fucking bell cheese that you are. I have enough of that knob. I tell you, what a prick.
I do think we need to we need to come down off the fence a little bit on this channel, don't we? And really say how we feel. We're so
impartial. We're
too bland at times, really, aren't we?
There's another pound in the church square, Jeremy, way to work tomorrow. Sorry about that.
You must be skint.
I have not got no money to me. Actually, skin. Please donate to the channel just to help me to pay for my swearing fines.
we need to pay his fines. Yeah, absolutely. Christ, no, you don't pull up and stop playing. I mean, goal difference is a massive thing, isn't it? And you're right. And I know other channels have said the same thing. And it was said all day yesterday on social media. I'm sorry, Jamie, but yeah, you might not like it as a defender. I kind of understand that. Everybody else is enjoying it.
Exactly, mate.
The only people that really weren't enjoying it were Sheffield United fans who, had left pretty much, at that point. But Jesus Christ, I mean, this happens. He wasn't saying the same thing. Somebody mentioned it in the chat earlier on, the World Cup, when Germany absolutely battered Brazil. He wasn't saying it at Anfield last season when Liverpool smashed the hell out of Man U. He was probably saying it when Liverpool got hammered the season or two beforehand. But yeah, it's just think Inspector Hector there in the bottom, Carragher's bitter tones. Yeah, I mean he is. He's just. But look, it's another one of those ones where Newcastle are starting to upset more and more of the established teams, the established pundits, the ones that don't want to see them beat their own team, and we'll see more of it. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
100%, and I think eventually the tide will turn like it did with City. They didn't like this when City were coming through and City were doing this. They didn't like that. But then City obviously didn't do what we're doing. They went and bought the big players because the scrutiny wasn't there. But in many ways, I'm so glad that we haven't done that. And we've got a team full of experienced players and this mixture of youth coming through under a superb coach that can just get the best out of players. And for me, that's a better way than going and throwing loads of money and getting a bunch of shithouse mercenaries in there who might be class for 3 games, but then they'll turn around and go, oh, well, Real Madrid want us now. I don't want to be here anymore, like a Pogba. You know what I mean? But we don't want players like that as well. But yeah, for me, I think Newcastle are definitely going about it in the right direction. A couple more comments coming in there. Paul McCoffey saying, when we lost 1-0 at Sheffield United with the tactical genius that is Steve Bruce. There he is again. He played 2 false number 10s. Could someone please explain to me what a false number 10 is? Did he play?
Didn't he play Sean Longstaff as a false 10 that day?
I think he did.
Right, I'm thinking that. I mean, it's the measure of the deluded one.
Yeah, I think what happened was that Bruce is a false manager. That was the only false thing that was really happening that day, really, as opposed to a false 10. They might be witnessing how was the Gordon penalty not reviewed by Sky's Ref Watch? Oh, yes, because it's the tune. But that was the excuse that we were winning 3-0. That was Carrick even said that. It came out of his mouth along with a gob of spit probably as well at the same time. And he said that they didn't give the penalty because Newcastle won 3-0. Well, I'm sorry, that's unprofessional. That's bullshit. If I'm Eddie Howe, I'm on the phone to Howard Webb saying, what do you mean you didn't give it? Because we were 3-0 up. Fuck you, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just a joke. Robert's in the comments saying, hi guys, still buzzing. About 8 different goal scores. That's a Premier League record as well, by the way, Robert. Unbelievable that. He said, but my missus has pointed out that we had 2 strikers? Or strikers?
Well, speaking of, if we're going to go into strikers, the thing that really pissed me off yesterday, I had Callum Wilson in my FPL team.
Oh, so you cursed him. Man, he did score the goal, though.
I mean, he scored,
goal, by the way.
But he could have had 4.
That was a beautiful goal, by the way.
Oh,
that little clip from Trippier, mate. I mean, that guy is unfucking. That was another thing Carragher said, that the cross for Botman's goal wasn't even a good ball. Watch the replay. Look at the whip on the ball. Like, Jamie Carragher couldn't cross the street, let alone cross a ball like that. I was just thinking, what are you talking about, mate?
He gets it just to dip over the first man. And to be fair, there's a thing. He gets it just to dip over the first man's head on the Botman's head. It's a great header.
The one for Wilson, he doesn't even break stride, Mark. He just thinks. I mean, to have that vision. I mean, that's why Wilson ran straight over to him, because as a striker, that is a ball and a half. That is, I mean, what a cross.
Yeah. Fabian Schär's move for that as well. That little run forward, and then it's sort of almost fating one and playing the ball out in the gap, and to be able to see that ball out to Trips was phenomenal. But again, just went to show the openness of Sheffield United's defence. They didn't have a clue. Absolutely didn't have a clue.
I'm going to say it. It's been a while. I used to say it about us. They were wider than Sharon Stone's. It's been a long time since I've said that, mate, because we haven't done that. So Sheffield United, you can have my Sharon Stone line by all means. But speaking of shit commentary and good commentary, we've got Billy in the comments there. So he's saying, thanks for the kind words yesterday, Chris. Good evening to you, Billy. Keep up the good work. Hopefully we can do something together in the future. Thank you so much. Yeah, Billy's obviously part of the Toon Review team as well, and they do brilliant match commentary. And I said that if you don't want to listen to these fucking helmets on Sky and TNT, the guys at Toon Review got you covered, because they do a great commentary job. I think I flicked them on, and from listening to Carragher, I think I heard Paul call the ref a fucking bellend, and that's my type of commentary, by the way. I did like that. I really appreciate that. So yeah, for me, definitely, you're welcome, Billy. You guys keep up the good work as well. You do an awesome job, mate. Kev saying, did anyone hear Puke Edwards crap about Bruno? Not likely to stay for Newcastle for his entire career. What a jerk. I think that's just Luke's crack, Mark, isn't it? We've seen Luke in talkings and that, and I think he likes to play the pantomime villain a little bit, Luke, doesn't he? I don't think half of the shit he comes out with he means. He just says it to stoke the flames a little bit, doesn't he, to be fair, for the interactions.
I think, is he angling for a job on Talkshite? I mean, he says it's the standard sort of stuff, isn't it? Make bollocks up and antagonize a fan base, but he's funny though, isn't he? Because he's genuinely a decent bloke, but he does say some odd things. And yeah, if he's not going to stay, I don't think he'll be there for his entire career. That seems pretty standard. He's not leaving next week, though. Do you know what I mean? Honestly,
Erling Haaland won't stay at City for his whole career. He'll be away at Real Madrid or Barcelona or something in the next 5 years. But I mean, it's just one of them bloody things, to be honest with you. The mighty win is saying, good Craig Hope YouTube piece on Bruce Jordan fairy tale interview. Actually, funny enough, Win, that inspired our little brains ticked over for the Steve Bruce Zone Twilight Zone special. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. Great bit of event work by this man right here. Really funny, really funny. So, but he does live in a complete paradox universe, does Steve Bruce. What an absolute fucking knob. But going back to the good bit, mate, Kieran Trippier, 3 assists, he gets better and better, Mark. And from one present brilliant Newcastle fullback to one of the past in the glory days, this was just superb in this game. So if anyone didn't see this already, the legend that is John Beresford. I believe John Beresford has a street named after him in Seaton Solution. I walked to Seaton Solution today, and I love the people who name the streets there because I walked down Albert Road and then turned right on Beresford Road. So I'm quite, it's pretty obvious where that inspiration came from. But if you didn't see it, John was in amongst the Geordies singing, the old Hey Jude Geordies chant at the top of his lungs. And then as the day progressed, Mark, we got to see a drunken John Beresford, which was almost as beautiful as the game itself, really, wasn't it, mate? So good on you, Bez.
He's good fun, isn't he? He's such a top bloke as well. So, yeah,
he's a great guy.
Things like that I absolutely love to see. And he's in amongst it. He's getting involved. I mean, he'd had a few. But, yeah, really, really good. And seeing him singing his lungs out was just tremendous fun.
Oh man, he was great. It was when he was pissed hugging the guy singing. I don't know what he was singing, but it was absolutely superb, to be honest with you. So massive respect to John Beresford. We go back to the Sheffield United fans again. I think not to put a somber spin on this, talk about this great game. Obviously, the game started off with the tragic kind of tribute to the Sheffield United player who passed away, wasn't it? And it was really sad. That was it. Yeah, and it was well kind of observed by both fan bases.
That is, do you know what? It's the one thing football fans tend to get right. You get the odd dickhead when certain tributes are done. When they do minute silence for Munich, and there's always a Liverpool fan that breaks it, or somebody similar.
Yeah.
But the fans yesterday were impeccable for it, and rightly so.
Yeah, it was really sad news. And obviously going into the game, the Sheffield United fans were obviously watching a team get pasted, and some of them left early, and then some of them went on to become internet sensations. And a big shout out to this lady right here who on 7-0 just decided to get her book out and read chapter 12 or whatever it was, because she'd had enough of watching the shit she was being served up in the ground, mate. And that was brilliant. It almost reminded me of the cricket, when someone's like reading Harry Potter in the Goblet of Fire or something, the cricket. You think, what's the point you go into the game? But I've got a lot of respect for this lady for that, mate. I thought it was a great.
Well, funny enough, Ash put in the chat yesterday that she was reading 50 Shades, so it was a good. She's given up on the game, is reading 50 Shades. Who knows?
She was just reading the book, saying, "How do I change my team?" Is what the book was titled. How do I change my support team? But yeah, absolutely. But to be fair to Sheffield United fans, like I say, hopefully the season turns a little bit better than that. But God bless them. That was a rough old day. But there was another thing that happened. Obviously, talking about your FPL, mate, and talking about a goal scorer, and a handsome double goal scorer at that as well. Callum Wilson managed to not just score a brilliant goal, possibly the best move of the game, but also for Callum, it took him ahead of, funny enough, the studio guest in Sky, Sir Leslie of Ferdinand, in terms of the top goal scorers in the Premier League. And you can see it there. To talk to Callum after the game, he was obviously buzzing about it. Like you say, he's probably more good. He didn't get about 3 or 4 goals, to be fair. But 42 goals for Callum Wilson, since we've signed him. Look at the company that he's in there, Mark. He's got ahead of Les Ferdinand. He's one behind Andy Cole. He's one behind Shola. He's 4 behind Peter Beardsley. He's a little bit further behind Alan Shearer.
Just a small gap there, isn't there?
Just a little bit. But I mean, his goal to game ratio, Mark, it's been fucking unbelievable for Callum Wilson, hasn't it, man? What a signing he's been, man.
I think it's even better if you look at his goal per minute, like his goal per 90 minutes played is utterly sensational, and we've said it so much, haven't we? And I think everybody has. But he's fit, he will score goals, and if you can keep him fit, he will score goals. Doesn't matter, against who. He's just one of the best finishers in the Premier League. It's so natural for him. And if you just wish he didn't miss so many games over the last few seasons, because he would have had a hatful more. But if you can keep him fit now, he will. I mean, he'll get above Beardsley easily. He's not going to make a dent in Shearer's record, is he? But he will. No. He'll score a hatful more.
Yeah, it's funny that George is saying, let's Ferdinand was seen heading to the stands with a sniper rifle. Do you know what's quite funny, right? About obviously Callum Wilson's incredibly charming, isn't he, right? When you see him get interviewed and stuff. And when he was talking afterwards, after you obviously beat Les's record and stuff, and he went, nice to see you, Les. But you're looking well, by the way. I just thought he's too fucking charming, isn't he? You can't hate the guy, even though he's got above you in the Premier League goal scoring charts. But yeah, as you say, Mark, I mean, I think certainly since Kane's moved on as well, who, by the way, wow, for Bayern Munich. Maybe talk about him and Out of Toon, but wow. I think since Kane's moved on, I would say that Wilson's probably the best English finisher, I think, in the Premier League in terms of that English squad, natural finisher. People might think I'm not saying that, but I really think he is.
There's an argument to say he's a more natural finisher than Harry Kane. I mean, of the two, I think Harry Kane's the better footballer.
Probably.
That's clear. In terms of overall game, but genuinely think that, Callum Wilson is one of the best finishers we've probably seen in the Premier League. He's just such a natural goal scorer, and it is sad that he's missed so much time. But look, just think if he'd stayed fit, how many goals he would have scored. Like he probably would have moved on to bigger side much earlier than he did. But he's phenomenal, and look, he's reaping the rewards now of being able to stay fit and the way that Eddie Howe has this team playing, that it suits him. And it yesterday suited him to perfectly. He just couldn't finish in the first half. He's probably wearing his slippers.
He was, to be fair, but I mean Isak as well. That goal for Isak was brilliant as well. Bit of skill there, sitting the player on his arse and finishing with a plum. And he looked more like the Isak that we're used to seeing. I mean, he hadn't scored. I think he only scored, was it 1 goal in 12 games? I think Craig Hope was saying in his channel. I think he put it Eddie Howe in a press conference, and Eddie Howe kind of swatted it away as he always does. But seeing Isak come on and get that goal was good for his confidence as well. I think he'll start in the cup game, more on that in a second, and if he gets another goal in there, he'll be in real good form going to the PSG game. But great to see the two strikers obviously on the score sheet. But there was another player who, I mean, there's so many players that stole the headlines really, Mark, but there was another player who really did look back to his best, and that was Bruno. He looked like he was enjoying himself out there, mate, didn't he? He gets the goal, the cheeky little nutmeg. He wanted the ball. He was popping up in space. He was chewing that gum, swagging around, being the Bruno that we all kind of love. You were really impressed with Bruno at the weekend, mate, weren't you?
I thought he was brilliant, and certainly back to. I mean, we've got to play it as who the opposition were and what was going on, but he was at his arrogant best. That nutmeg you mentioned, where he rolls it with the under his foot through the Sheffield United player's legs. Skips around him, but I just thought he played further forward. He found space. There's so much space and so much time for him to play, and I think that's been part of the problem for him recently is the fact that he has been closed down a lot more quickly. He's having to play the ball sideways or backwards rather than forwards. But he was at his best yesterday, where he was getting forward. He was getting into the positions sort of between the edge, the centre circle and the edge of the area, being able to dictate play, creating chances. That little ball through for Miggy. How nobody tracks Miggy's run is still beyond me. The fact that he plays the ball to Bruno, runs round his back, and then just makes a straight line run from Bruno through the middle of defence. But the ball was perfectly weighted into his path. It was that's Bruno's best performance of the season, I think, by an absolute country mile. I think maybe he's a bit of weight lifted with the announcement of the contract.
Possibly.
I missed a trick with the intro to not put him screaming.
I was just going to say, screaming that he was staying. You need to swear because I'll score too much, mate. But he's flipping staying is what he says.
Flipping staying, yeah.
He's flipping staying, yeah. And as the Spectre Hector's saying there, I think the only explanation is that chewing gum is infused with magic, really, is what it is. So maybe that's what it is. He couldn't get his brand of magic chewing gum from Brazil, and that's why his powers waned a little bit, possibly, mate. That could be an explanation for the situation, I think.
Wait, yeah, you're not an NFL fan. If you go back and watch when the Saints won the Super Bowl, and there's a piece on one of the America's game thing when they're interviewing, talking to Sean Payton, and it's about his chewing gum, and he's got to have a bit of what is it? It's Hubba Bubba or something. He has to have this particular kind of chewing gum. He's got to change out, and he changes it out when things aren't going well. So, and it's just that constant chewing of this gum. You just think that's that kind of line where that's now becoming sort of almost superstition that it's got to be going.
Yeah, I've just seen George's comment there. I'm not sure whether we can actually pull it up, even though you remember, George. We might get binned off YouTube if I pull that one up. But I think he was just saying, yeah, Bruno definitely said he was staying. I can't pull this one up. He has got a little bit of a potty mouth. It's more Bruno. Don't we all, mate? Don't we all? So I can relate to you on that one, Bruno.
I think what George is saying is, I'm flipping staying, you lovely people.
You lovely people, you lovely Geordie supporting public, absolutely. But he looked like he was enjoying himself. But I think obviously we'll come on to the cup in a minute. But I think you will get rested for Wednesday, and rightly so, because you don't want him to burn out really just when you're starting to get him to reignite again. And I think that when Bruno has that swag, when he has that confidence and he's strutting around the pitch like that, he is one of the best in the league. That might sound like I'm being really hyperbolic, but he is one of the best in the league when he's like that. Why do you think people like Liverpool and City and Real Madrid and Barcelona are interested in signing the kid when he's like that? There's not many players in the game that have that level of confidence that can just take the game themselves. I mean, he's not at Bellingham level, but look what Bellingham's doing for Real Madrid. Players like that are worth every single penny. They're worth 200 grand a week. They're worth 100 million quid because they can turn your midfield, your team, from being nearly there to properly there on top of it, can't the mark? And I think when Bruno's on his game like that, wow, I mean, what a player he is for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I say he was definitely is it's that arrogance that he has. That's that you say, that swagger he has around the field. The game is about him. At that point, he is the total focal point. Again, if you go back and look at the passer maps, I didn't put them in tonight, but if you look at the pass map, it's all through Bruno. Everything goes through. Yes, the ball's going wide, but it all comes from that central point, and his is the biggest arrows coming to and from him. He's just in the hub of doing everything well, and that's when Newcastle were at their absolute peak last season, where he was the hub and he was able to dictate everything, and he was involved in everything and getting forward and passing to everybody. Didn't matter who it was, the passes were going everywhere, and he was that player that really set the tone. And look, if this is him now back to that, then as the song goes, E-I-E-I-E-I-O, you're heading up. Honestly, it's just that's what we want. That's the Bruno you want to see on the field, and long may it continue.
Absolutely, and we like to see Bruno like that. And just as Jules has reminded us, if you guys can hit the old like button as well, thank you, Jules. Keep us on our toes. We'd really appreciate that. It really helps the channel grow. Yeah, do you know what, Stu? I was going to mention this as well. Actually, I didn't mention it in the post match because I think I was just caught up in the euphoria of the result. But throwing that bottle at Anderson was a disgrace from the Sheffield United crowd. I mean, I think by and large, most of the supporters were bang on. There's always one helmet in amongst the crowd. We get them at St James as well. But I mean, that really smashed off Anderson's leg. And I think the fact that the Trippier, as you say, switched on straight away to check Anderson was okay, just like he did when that heavy challenge came in as well on Longstaff. That was fucking robust, to say the least. I said this to my mate earlier, if I was a Man United fan, which thankfully I'm not, but if I was a Man United fan, I'm sitting there wondering why on earth my team didn't try and sign Kieran Trippier for 12 million quid. Because what a footballer he is for one, but what a leader he is for two, and what he's done to that side. Honestly, I love Alan Shearer. He's our club legend, goal scorer and all that. Trippier's a better captain than Shearer. I'm going to say it right now, just because of what he did. Shearer led by example. Trippier just drags everybody along with him, doesn't he? I don't think I've seen a better captain in modern day. Certainly not modern day Newcastle United teams, mate. I really haven't. He's just superb.
I think you bang on the money there. Look, when you go back, £12 million is an absolute steal for what he brings. He is a true leader of that team. He was last season. He is now, and his performances on the field have been exceptional. He's been brilliant. But his leadership qualities, those intangibles, those things that you can't really quantify, you can't put stats on it, are the things that you pay the money for. And I mean, when you think about some of the money that's thrown around, I mean, you've only got to look at what Man United have spent over the last 10 years and what Chelsea has spent in the last 5 minutes. That £12 million is probably the best bit of business I think I've seen in the Premier League in God knows how many years.
At least the last decade. At least the last decade.
Or possibly Erling Haaland, who was an absolute snip for what was it,
65 million. Something like that.
So, I mean, if you take Haaland out of it because he's a freak, that bit of business for Trippier might be the best signing. Hyperbolic. Maybe he's a little over the top. Is it the best sign in Premier League history? Do you know what? It's not bad. Cantona's from
I was going to say Cantona's got to be there for 1 million.
Sensational for a bit of business, but Trippier's just he's changed the dynamic of, and yeah, Eddie Howe's massive amount to do with it. But the way that team is now led on the field by Kieran Trippier, and even when he was injured.
And exactly. Look what he's done. Every time we sign a new player, he's there. Tonali, he's there. He's talking to his partner. He's talking to the player. You know, Lewis Hall, he comes in and sees him, checks he's all right. And I mean, I think you look at some players, and to be fair, Matt Ritchie's got a little bit of this as well. I think Matt Ritchie will be a good coach, stroke manager. You see Trippier. I can't see Kieran Trippier when he finishes playing, which hopefully is a long way away, even though he's 33. I can't see Kieran Trippier sitting on a sofa talking about football. He just seems to be destined to be a manager because he's just got that aura about him, isn't he? Almost like what Pep's got. You know what I mean? Like he seems to have that kind of aura about him, that leadership, that respect. You know, and just for me, I just think, wow, honestly, we are so lucky to have this guy as a player, Mark. I mean, it was great to see Livramento get on, and Lewis Hall as well. More on them in a second, because they could be the future for us. But I mean, the only disappointing thing about Trippier is he's not 27. it's the only thing, mate. It's the only downside I can see, really.
It's I mean, it's you go back into. I mean, there was no way you were ever going to sign him 2, 3, 4 seasons.
No, not when he was at Atletico. So, I mean,
but yeah, I mean, it just you want another 4 or 5 seasons out of him. But look, if you get 2 at this level, and then him in the process, I was going to say grooming. That sounds wrong.
We'll get comments. We'll get bot comments. Don't start that kind of shit, mate. We'll be off.
Taking Livramento under his wing and guiding him.
There you go. That's better. That's
into
better.
The team. That's slightly less dodgy.
So yeah, I'm just laughing at Ty's comment there. Sorry, I was going to say 14 quid for Thierry Henry is the bargain of the century rate, but then he has corrected himself for 14 million. Sorry.
To be fair,
sorry, Mark.
Yeah. I'd almost forgotten about Thierry Henry, to be honest, how bad of us. But yeah, 14 million for Thierry Henry might beat Trippier. You probably got me there. But I mean, it doesn't take away from what a sensational piece of business.
Sorry, Kev's got you like a kipper there, but he really has. Yeah, Mark is in the running for the new host of This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I might lose him on a Monday night. I'm only joking, Mark.
No.
No, a million times no. Yeah, Wayne saying Trippier is up there with one of the best signings with Cantona and Nistelrooy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Van Nistelrooy was a great sign as well, to be honest with you. I think, Shearer as well, 15 million quid at the time was a world record fee, but looked like an absolute snip, given the fact that still no one's got near his record, really, after all these years. And you got to remember how many shit teams Shearer played in as well over his spell at Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, when you look at Trippier, I mean, going on to, it's probably a good segue actually to go into Wednesday, which is up for the cup. Obviously, we've got Manchester City in the Carabao Cup, which when it came out, we all went, ugh. But now you look at the form we're on, the confidence we've got after beating Sheffield United 8-0, point to San Siro, a win against Brentford. We'll go bouncing in this game with confidence, really. I do think Eddie will make changes. We're not going to do our lineup tonight because we've got the preview come now tomorrow morning. But talking about Trippier, Mark, we've got to manage his minutes. I think there'll be some changes in the cup lineup for Wednesday. And I do think Trippier might get a rest and we might see Livramento from the start. What's your take on that?
That's just sensible, isn't it? You're right. Manage those minutes. The cup. I know that there will be a clamour for another cup final, I guess, this season. But there is a definite need with the added European games to manage minutes, and it has to be the case. And you don't sign Livramento to just sit on the bench. The games, whether it's the League Cup, whether it's the FA Cup, he's going to play, and I think he's made a couple of sub appearances now, and I think he's almost a shoo-in now to start on Wednesday.
He looked decent, I thought, when he come on Sunday. Hall looked a bit rusty, and I think it probably backs up what Hal was saying, that they're building him up for, he's still got that pace. You could see that pace, but his touch he didn't really touch the ball a great deal. But I don't quite know where he was playing to start. He was playing in midfield, and then he kind of dropped into left back. But I do think that, as you say, Roger, he had a taster. But I do think that Hall will start, I think, as well. I think we'll get Hall and Livramento either side. Now, whatever that means for the middle, we'll obviously cover that in our preview tomorrow. But, you got likes of Tonali, I think, who'll maybe get a start as well, Mark. And, there'll be some changes. I mean, there's certain players that I would like to see. I think certain young Geordie superstars, which I won't talk too much about. But, one thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see old washed players like Matt Ritchie and Paul Dummett. No disrespect to them. City in the Cup is not the game for that. Even though this is going to be City's second string or possibly third string, it's still probably better than most of the Premier League teams. And I think that I think Dummett and Ritchie would just get absolutely ran over the top of, mate. What's your thoughts on that? Again, I think Inspector Hector saying target left back. What's your kind of thinking? Anybody you think in particular?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I sort of start thinking that Hall at left back, and then the way that he sort of come on in midfield almost leads us to think he might drop him a little bit further forward. And Target coming in at left back, I think you maybe Livramento, does Lascelles get in, possibly Dan Burn at centre back, or do you play Botman for a little bit of stability in there, and then Target at left back?
Speaking of Botman, by the way, it is great that he broke his duck, Wayne. Sorry, Wayne's just saying it's great that he got 50th appearance in a goal, mate. Absolutely class.
It's funny, isn't it? Because he probably should have had 10 already by now. He's had that many opportunities to try and break that duck, and yeah.
I'm okay, Robert. It's green tea tonight. I'm okay. I'm chilling.
He's calm. He's calm.
I'm calm.
Yeah, but I think when I was looking at it before, and I know your team is slightly different, but I think that midfield on Wednesday, I think you're probably looking at Longstaff, because I think he needs minutes. He's been out for a while. He needs more minutes in his legs.
Tonali he's got the engine playing another game that quick, I think.
Absolutely. I think Tonali will come in for Bruno. And then I was torn. I think probably Anderson in there alongside him for another game. Or you could see Hall in that position with maybe Anderson a little bit further forward, possibly.
Very possibly. There's options, isn't there? The main thing. There's options.
Well, there absolutely is. I'm just going back to last season and City's game against Chelsea. And their starting lineup was Ortega, Diaz, Gundogan, Grealish, Laporte, Rodri, Alvarez, Sergio Gomez, Mahrez, Palmer, and Rico Lewis. So they did mix it up. It wasn't first string. It was a bit of a hybrid between first and second with a couple of the younger players thrown in. So the likelihood is they'll probably do that again. I guess I will do somewhat the same. There will be a few of the first teamers thrown in, the likes of Isak, probably Sean, and maybe Botman in that. And then the rest will be made up of the others. I think it's an interesting game to kind of just see what level some of those fringe players might be at. Especially the likes of Target.
A couple of shouts for Miley as well, who we're big fans of.
I'd love to see him.
I'd love to see him. Imagine he bosses Man City's midfield man in a cup. It'd just be the kind of performance you'd expect to see from the kid, really, wouldn't it? And Sai say, what about Alex Murphy as well? I think you mentioned. I think Lascelles coming in is more or less a cert. I think Lascelles got cup player. I think it's actually on the back of his shirt under Lascelles in small print. It just says cup player. and yellow cards on the sideline is basically what is on Jamal Lascelles' CV, really. But what Alex Murphy, I think personally, no, I don't think he'll get the chance because I think that's one change too many, and I think there's more established players above him. I think he'll be a good player, though. I think he certainly showed in pre-season. We saw him live; he looked good, didn't he, Alex Murphy?
Yeah, he was very, very good at St James's Park in the Fiorentina game.
Yeah.
I don't think he changes the whole back four. I do think there will be at least one fish. I think of the four, I think it's more likely to be Botman than it is Shaw. Obviously, Shaw
I wouldn't
has a
disagree.
tendency to hit his head off everything. You just manage his potential concussion rate. So I think Botman's probably the most, and it just gives that. I mean, he's so assured, he's so calm. Thanks, Ty. So I think you change possibly two or three of the others, but I think that's the most likely. I could be proved completely wrong.
Well, the thing is, we can never second guess anyhow. You always surprised you, didn't you? But I just had visions there of like Fabian Shaw walking down his hallway, hitting his head off like lights all the way down. Like Mrs. Shaw just hangs them low, just deliberately to see if he hits his head on them, just like a social experiment on our TikTok. She's like, he's walking down the corridor, bang, 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 bang. That's how he gets so many head injuries because he's a bit fucked up from hitting his head and all the lights on the way down. But he does love a head injury, just Fabian Shaw. I don't know how he stays so handsome because he's constantly on the floor holding his face, and he's.
How has he never been out with a concussion? Genuinely, that's honestly a genuine question. The number of blows he takes to the head, how has he never been out with a concussion? And I'm not making a joke about it, but seriously, he gets hit so much. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I think it's almost that head injury type thing, isn't it? Where he just needs to buy a couple of minutes and he goes down and goes, and then when that watch, he just kind of peers and goes, I'm all right. I'm all right.
Well, I mean, there's an element of that, but you watch it happen, and there are a number of times he does get clobbered in the face or in the head, and I think some of it he does go down a little bit too easily at times, and not like who was it over the weekend that went down and they got one in the chest and they went down holding their face. It was a proper Rivaldo moment. Was it a Chelsea player? And the impact
sounds about right.
Yeah, and they went down like this, and you're like, what are you doing?
But Chelsea are so bad they can't even get their injuries on target. That's how bad they are, man. They're all over the place, aren't they, to be fair. Jules has missed the Lascelles yellows from the sideline. That's all about
what he's good at.
I was going to say, that's what he's good at the minute, though. And saying Les looks after Shaw, this, lol. That's a good job, Les. You're doing a very good job. Splatter saying Shaw is going to end up like Frank Bruno. I hope not, mate. Bloody hell. More head injuries. But I think a lot of it's gamesmanship, I think, from Fabi Shaw, to be fair. But, we have got options, Mark. Obviously, we're going to cover it in the preview, but you don't have to give me a result. Feeling confident for the Cup? Do you think it's confident for Newcastle, or do you think it's a bit of a free hit that no one expects us to win? And we're thinking, screw it, we'll just go for it,
I think at this stage of the competition is the best time to get City because they will change the lineup, and I think possibly Eddie Howe knows that as well. So there's half of me. The other side thinks yes, you've got to change the thing. Does he go with a stronger team, keep the momentum going, and just go? Do you know what? We're just going to go out to win.
Yeah. Any excuse to compare any player to your cat is a brilliant one, Ian. Absolutely, yeah. He is the Toons version of Mark's cat. Absolutely.
He's just on the floor down here. He's on a cushion. He's just woken up, but he is around.
Mark has started to drug his milk like Mr. T. That's really what's happening. He doesn't want to admit it, but that's exactly what he's doing.
I'll have the RSPCA knocking on the door, man. You do realise this is live.
He'll be shooting the little blow darts at them when they come in. Yeah, 2 seconds. I'll just get a cup of tea. Bang. Off you go. Yeah, Jules is saying, bring on the cat. Absolutely. Yeah. If don't bring him up. He might smash the whole screen. Is he there? You're going to bring him up. I should rename him Fabian Shaw. Shaw Cat. As it should be. Great comment there from there.
Those that haven't seen him
there
he
is. Look, he's black and white. Oh, he's getting big, isn't he? He's a unit now.
He's getting the size.
He's a big old beast, isn't he? The new monkey saying, starting my new Sheffield United diet, 8-0. Brilliant. Well, that is a great one. I heard a brilliant one as well. One of my mates turned around and said he's going to rename his ex-wife Sheffield United in his phone because she's kicking off every 5 minutes, which I thought was fucking brilliant as well, to be honest with you. That was a superb one, it really was. So big shout out for that guy. But yeah, poor Sheffield United fans, I'm sure, would have got the piss ripped out of them royally at work I'm sure when many of the Wednesday fans probably were laughing at me.
That's right. Well done,
I wonder
Mark.
how good Shaw's wives are. Brilliant, Mark. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably very good, mate. To be fair, Les is saying determined to stay awake. So hopefully the cat has kept you awake a little bit, Les. But we're going to wrap up soon. We've got Out of Tune to get stuck into here. Actually, but when I say Out of Tune, we're going to take some great pleasure here and take the piss out of Chelsea because it's just fun to do. But it's not really out of tune. It's kind of bang on in tune. So if you didn't realise, we beat Sheffield United 8-0 the weekend, just in case you didn't know. And just to let you know, those 8 goals that we scored in 90 minutes is more than Chelsea's 5 goals all season, as Pochettino was scratching his bonnet there, wondering how on earth Newcastle scored 8 goals in one game, and they only scored 5 all season. So that is a fun stat.
It's incredible. The other stat that I absolutely love was Newcastle scored more goals yesterday than Wolves had in the Luton area on Saturday.
Touches in their
touches
area.
In the Luton, yeah. So more goals than Wolves had touches in the Luton area, and I mean that's incredible. The difference between Newcastle, who weren't top incredibly, and Wolves was, I think, 35. I think Newcastle had 42 touches in the Sheffield United box. Wolves had 7.
Wow. I agree with New Monkey there as well. I think Poch is gone by Christmas. I would be shocked.
It's so strange that situation. I mean, I genuinely think they expected this huge bounce from Poch going in, and it's just not happened. And
it's just not
yes, they've missed a few plays, but they got 700 on their book, so that's not an excuse.
By the way, 40 million quid for Anthony Gordon versus 80 million quid for Mudryk. Who got the better deal there? Yeah, suffice to say, we did.
And somebody needs to tell me exactly what Enzo
Fernandez does. Yeah, what does he actually do?
105 million. Caicedo, I sort of understand, but I mean that midfield on Sunday for them, it was 200 million plus for them.
Jesus
and they were
Christ.
awful. Caicedo's a decent player, don't get me wrong, but Fernandez just does absolutely nothing. I don't understand it. Mudryk has got, was it no goals in 22 games or something for a player that's cost 80, 90 million? He's quick, but he's got nothing about him.
He's got nothing. Look at that stat. Leicester City have won more Premier League games than Chelsea in 2023, and they went down. I mean, that is unbelievable. To be fair, Stu, we're not even finished slagging them off. Sorry, Mark, we're not even finished slagging them off. This other stat made me laugh as well. So Erling Haaland, 44 goals, has now scored more Premier League goals than Chelsea, 43 goals since he made his debut for Manchester City. I know he's a freak, but he's one player versus an entire team. So, I mean, a penny for the thought of the Chelsea fans at the minute, Mark. I mean, they must be sitting thinking, when's this going to end, really? When is this madness going to end? Hopefully never.
I mean, I really don't care. And
they're a horrible club. They're rancid
just
anyway.
Genuinely don't know. The other stat about Chelsea, we'll be piling on them tonight. Of the 17 clubs that have played in both seasons of the Premier League, sort of last season and this season across 2023, Chelsea have the second worst points haul. In fact, that's actually changed now because Everton won at the weekend. Chelsea have the worst points haul in 2023 of every club that's played across last season and this season in the Premier League. They've got 24 points, and I think Everton now have 25. So that tells that's, I mean, they're properly relegation form. They're shocking.
Well, it's interesting. New Monkeys there, right? You're saying that's what happens when you buy players on hype and then they don't fit into your team. But Ian's bang on as well. If they'll go down, they'll go bust. I think because they can't afford to pay, the wages in the championship as well. But as you say, they're a horrible club, really. I mean, they're very much, I think they've been rancid for a long time, really. I mean, they had great managers and great players, and when they all started to disappear, retire, move on, then this whole conveyor belt sacking managers like they do just because the day ends in Y, inevitably it just takes you down. And I think every club who's done it has inevitably gone down and gone backwards. And I think it's their turn now. And I think the guys are right. I think Poch will be gone by Christmas. And I can't see any manager who goes in there and really turns that around. I just think they're completely not fucked, mate. I can't see them certainly not finishing in top 4. I can't even see them finishing in top 10 this season. Look if they're mid-table.
It's another one where you go. I mean, if it clicks, if it suddenly clicks, they're going to be incredible because the players that they've got in and around. It's
not going to, though, is it? Really,
it's not going to. I think the one thing, and they have to probably learn from Arsenal, in that they've got to give a manager a season or two, completely under their control, just to put in their entire philosophy into it. Arsenal could have panicked early doors, under Arteta.
Yeah.
Jesus, God.
Wow.
God help me.
I just saw that comment. I had to pull it up. Lampard back for round 3. Wow. Scary.
Weirdly, when he first went, I thought he did all right.
Right the first time he went. Yeah.
When they had the transfer embargo and they, they couldn't say he was having to use the young players. I thought they did all right, and then it went wrong. The second time around was an absolute joke. But I think they have to they're going to have to at some point just stick with somebody and go, look, we've thrown all of these players at you. We've got to give you the time to work with them. And I mean, who else are you going to get? I know that's a tired argument, but they've gone through so many managers now. There's no one else left. So they may as well just stick with Poch for a couple of seasons and just play it out.
Yeah, I think if Lampard comes back as player manager, heck, I think he might do a better job, to be honest.
Do all right.
But yeah, I mean, it is quite funny, I must admit, because I don't hate Chelsea like I hate Manchester United. I must admit, I really do hate them. But Chelsea, I've had this real arrogance about them that has almost been a little bit, I wouldn't say unfounded. I mean, obviously Mourinho was the big thing for them. They got the right manager at the right time, got the right players in, and they went on just pure dominance, really. Mark, that would be brilliant. Well, I've got all these great players, and I think I'll play Mudryk at left back, because he's shown some real good defensive capabilities in training. So yeah, I tell you, Simon, I just got to do with what I've got. That's what I've got to do. What a twat he is! I hope he does get the Chelsea job, just to hear the excuses rolling out of his mouth.
I mean, the talk was, what was his interview with Jordan? He was talking about maybe he's going in and helping a young director of football, a young chairman or young manager, and I'm thinking, no, don't ruin somebody's career, please, God, no, because that'll be the end of them. So it just. I love the impression, by the way. I've got to say.
I know, it's scary. I might ring him up one day and just do the impression, and you'll think he's talking to himself from some different part of time or something like that. Well, who am I managing now? Well, you're managing Kings Lynn. That's who you're managing.
Poor Kings Lynn.
Poor Kings Lynn. Sorry about that, Kings Lynn. So Ian Bradley said he is a nice guy. Get him in, absolutely. Yeah. Histrionics and hysteria, absolutely. But it would be absolutely hilarious if Bruce or McLaren went to Chelsea. Wow. I mean, that is absolutely superb. Thank you, David. Yeah, it is a scary impression, Mark. I do give Mark nightmares about it when I do the impression. But yes, yeah, he will be on another podcast, I'm sure, telling you all that the 8-0 win was basically because of him, and that he was responsible for the tactics. He rang Eddie up and told him. Yeah, he basically rang Eddie up and said, well, Eddie, you're not clicking, so maybe try Big Joe. And he's injured, Steve. You're not paying attention. He's fucked his knee. He's not even playing. So, yeah, put the phone down. Don't speak to me.
I like his honesty. And when he said, well, I didn't even think about playing Joe in midfield and stuff. But his constant thing about, Joelinton's a wide forward. Yeah, we know that. We could have we told him, we were screaming it from the very beginning, and yet you consistently still picked him as despite the fact that he was wearing the number 9. Doesn't mean you have to play him through the middle. You could play him in his natural position. You chose to pick him every single freaking week as the central striker, and it was never going to work.
Maybe you can ghostwrite his article. You don't know what you're doing. The memoirs of Steve Bruce. That'd be superb ghostwriting. We've got a new member, T-Dog. Thank you so much for clicking that button, mate. Really appreciate that, mate. Absolutely superb. Really appreciate that. But to be in Steve Bruce's head would be frightening. It'd almost be as crazy as a tour of the chocolate factory, I think, with Willy Wonka dancing and doing cartwheels in front of you. You just have Steve Bruce dancing around. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure shite is where it'll be. Yes, come this way. They'll just be like little mini Oompa Loompas, like Alex Bruce. And,
Alex is a Oompa Loompas, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Just kind of follow them around everywhere. So yeah, frightening.
This took a weird turn.
Yeah. But it has taken a weird turn. God, Steve Bruce can do that too. We are going to finish off on another Out of Tune, and we did mention a little bit earlier on, Mark, and I have to mention it. And any time I hear this ridiculous comment of, are Spurs better off without Harry Kane? My answer simply is no. You're fucking not better off without Harry Kane, because he is on fire in his new club at Bayern Munich. We saw him score against Manchester United in the Champions League, but he got a hat trick at the weekend. They won 7-0. I think he got assists as well, didn't he? Or something. He got 3 assists or something like that as well. He just looks so good. And the hat trick, it means he's got 7 goals in his first 5 league games for Bayern, breaking the club record of Gerd Muller, Miroslav Klose, and Mario Mandzukic. I mean, how well is he taken to that move to the Bundesliga, Mark? What a player Harry Kane is, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was never going to go badly for him, really, was it? I mean, you put a proper striker in that side again, and they're just going to score goals for fun. It's perfect with the players he got around him, the likes of Leroy Sané and stuff, just to run on past him and things. But he's taken to it like a duck to water, and he's going to score an absolute hatful. And it's funny you mentioned about Spurs being better off without him. I sort of half see the point. I think the biggest thing for Spurs is their boss. Big Ange is just an absolute legend class already.
And a great bloke as well. He seems like a
absolutely love him.
Yeah, that talking he was at when he stopped, he made the lad ask the question. It just, he seems like, I mean, my dad's a Celtic fan, as you know, and he loves Ange and thinks he's a class act. But you're right, Stu, what a player he is as well. We've got another new member. Keith, thank you so much for clicking that button, mate. Really appreciate that, buddy. Loads more room for you guys. You want to click it? It's only $1.99, so it's less than a pint of Moretti, as you probably would have seen in Italy if you were there the other week. But you're right, Stu, what a player he is. He is a phenomenal footballer.
Yeah.
I mean, he agreed to play for Germany, I think, didn't he, over England? But you look at those players that you say, Mark, that are around Kane, and he doesn't have to sit deep like he did against Spurs. But when he drops deep, I mean, that ball he hit, was it for Sané's goal? The weight of that pass, you were just like, that's fucking ridiculous. That's a number 9 hitting that pass. It's almost as if Kane, as we said at Spurs, needed him to pass to him, which is what he kind of needed. But I mean, is he only 31, Harry? He's obviously going to win trophies over there. I'd be shocked if he doesn't win the league, the cup. To be honest with you, my money's on him for the Champions League, if I'm honest with you. Obviously, Newcastle in the final, clearly. But, if Munich win the Champions League, I mean, can you see Harry coming back? There was this talk about a buyback clause, Levy said, but then it was all shot down as bullshit. I mean, the way he's playing and the goals he's scoring, do you see him wanting to come back to the Premier League as quick as in one season? Or do you think he'll do 2-3 seasons?
I think he goes for a couple. I think he wants a shot at it. Definitely wants a league title. He wants cup wins. I think he wants the Champions League. He wants a run at the Champions League. And I think they're in a very good. I think they're probably in the best position they've been in for a while to really put a shot in at tipping, getting past City or Madrid, and those are the 2 standouts, aren't they?
Definitely, 100%.
Speaking of English players playing abroad, fuck, how good is Jude Bellingham?
Oh, Jude Bellingham's been absolutely amazing for me. Just again, he's just taken to that pressure like nobody's business. Yeah, really appreciate that, T-Dog, as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you, mate.
Lovely comment as well, mate. We really appreciate the support. But great comment there from Ian as well. I think he said the City knocked Bayern out last year. Kane is their answer to Haaland. I mean, that is going to be the box office tie, isn't it? If when we get to the knockouts, if City and Munich draw each other again with Kane versus Haaland in those 2 teams, it's going to be absolutely class. It really, really is. I think we've got another comment there from Kev saying he thinks Kane will definitely finish his career at Spurs, but in a few years. And I think Roger's saying Shearer's record of Haaland hasn't got it by then, which is probably the case if he stays for 7 or 8 seasons. But I mean, Shearer's record, I mean, you got to look at that. He played for that, obviously, that championship winning Blackburn team. A lot of the Newcastle teams he played in were so shit. He had 3 major injuries, Mark, just taking it away from Kane for a minute. I mean, Alan Shearer would have got probably 300, nearly 400 goals if he hadn't, done his knees in the way he did, mate.
I think he missed nearly a full season in one season. He missed the vast majority of another season. If you then throw in another 40 goals into that, that's at least, was it 206?
260 goals. Oh, for us, he got 260. Yeah.
260. That's where I got that number from. So 260 goals are right. Yeah, he's hitting 300 easy if he doesn't have those big injuries. No, I think Kane would be closer had he not had those ankle problems a few years ago, and he had a good couple of years where he did have those issues where he just wasn't able to stay fit for a full season. But I think he's not going to come back and break that record. I think if City can keep Haaland for 8 or 9 years, then the record vanishes. I just don't see Haaland sticking around for that long. I think he stays for 5 max and he's gone.
When Pep goes, that'll be the big tester for whether Haaland stays or not. Just love the comment there from Jules. Yeah, great show as always. Remember, you made it at nearly 5.5K already. All your own hard work. Carry on like that. It's work and take care of. Thank you, Jules. Really lovely comment. We really appreciate that. But do you know what the weird thing is about the whole Shearer record thing? And I still stand by this. And I can't believe some of these young kids these days who spend more time on FIFA than they do watching old footage of players. Had Wayne Rooney not had gone back and played as a bloody midfielder, Wayne Rooney would have beat Shearer's record because that guy was next level, man. He was just fucking superb. If Rooney hadn't been so unselfish as a player, I think he would have beat Shearer's record.
Yeah, it's difficult to look back and just think how good, fail to see how good a player Wayne Rooney was. But we'll still remember he was only going to be a flash in the pan, wasn't he?
That was the worst comment ever. That might be another Danny Cadamata. He was
the worst take I've ever heard for a footballer.
That was just that was the worst take I think anyone's ever said as a football fan. That
if you have worse, let us know in the comments, please. Let us know in the comments. Your worst football takes. Anything worse than Wayne Rooney is just another Danny Cadamata.
Yeah, that is probably the worst I think I've ever heard, to be fair. And as Wayne says that, like as well, if you can, guys, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Kev, you bang on at domestic level. Rooney was a goal machine. I mean, he was just so good. I think he's so underrated by so many people. And I just think that people really need to remember how good of a player he was. Stuart is saying, thanks very much, Stuart. We appreciate that. How are the lads? And good night to you too, mate. We really appreciate that as well. I still remember that goal against Arsenal that he scored. Kev as well. It was just unreal. He was a fully grown man at 16, wasn't he? But
I was going to say, bring it back to the Newcastle one. The volley scores against Newcastle at Old Trafford, where he's in the middle of arguing with the referee, turns around and goes, "Oh shit!" and goes and volleys it in the back of the net and off, and you're going, "What on earth has just happened?"
That was madness. Good night to you too, Ian. We'll be off in a minute as well, mate, but really appreciate it. But yeah, no, I think Shea Given always says they always pull that fucking goal up, don't they? It's always him picking the ball out of the net. So I do love that about Shea. He's a great punter these days, is Shady, but absolutely class. But that's all the time we've got for everyone on this week's What's Going On. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in, all the comments, all the likes, all the new members as well. We really appreciate all the love.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, everybody, and keep clicking that button if you are new around here. If you're just checking us out on a replay, possibly. Click subscribe, come and join us. We should hopefully be over 5,300 subs soon enough. Loads of room for the new members. You get early access to some of the videos, some of my rants as well, where there is a lot of F-bombs, as Wayne has said in the comments several times tonight. And I will be throwing out a dozen Hail Marys probably for my next rant, no doubt about it. But there will be one fairly soon, I'm sure. We've got a match preview coming out tomorrow for the Cup game, and we'll be back as usual with our post-match review of the Cup game, where hopefully Newcastle have dumped Manchester City out and this amazing run continues, and where the lads and up the league we go, and bouncing into cups left, right and centre. Have a cracking night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
Take care, guys.